Hey, good morning. It's been a while since we've done a video clip here, but wanted to get something up here based on some experiences we've had over the last couple of days. This is a recurring theme of education for both the buyers and the sellers. As a seller of a business, it's important for you to understand the motivations of all the parties involved, whether they be attorneys, accountants, or brokers, or even the buyers. A good understanding of those people, their motivations, and how to measure whether they're good at what they do is probably a good place to start with deciding who should help you in selling your business. So probably a year ago, I put together a list of 10 things that I thought were important for sellers to ask their brokers when they're interviewing them, and that's important. You need to interview multiple brokers and ask questions. These are the 10 things you should ask a broker before you choose them to list your business. Keep in mind, it's important to do this because less than 20% of the businesses that go to market ever sell. So if you choose a broker based upon price or anything other than results and their skills, you're putting at risk the likelihood of you ever getting a transaction completed. So the first question kind of goes to that point. How many deals have they done, and are they active in the marketplace? Results matter, sales matter. A good broker in any state, I think, should do at least 10 transactions a year. If a broker tells you they only do multi-million-dollar transactions, they're probably not the person for you. That sounds sexy and wonderful, but the reality is they don't actually probably do that. That's not how you run a business, and that's not how the brokers in the trade actually measure each other. So how many deals have they done in their career? How many have they done in their year? How many done in the last 6 months? How many listings they have? Those are measurements that will give you a baseline, and as you interview several, for who's active and who's not. The second question, and this is a real important one for you buyers and sellers that are outside of Florida where there's a trade association, and it's, do you co-broker? This is a sad statistic, but 90% of brokers do not co-broker. It's mandated here in Florida for members of the BBF, and then there are brokers within the BBF who just passively put up some resistance. But brokers who don't co-broker are doing you a disservice as a seller. They are dealing only with their buyers, and subsequently you're not getting full market rate and exposure to the marketplace. A broker's job should be to create competition. Keep in mind that 20% statistic I threw out a little while ago. If that broker is not putting your business to market and exposing it to the other brokers, that's going to drive your likelihood of sale way, way down. And frankly, that's why the statistic of 20% exists, is that most brokers don't co-broker and work well with others, and subsequently is a negative. I kind of run around the 50 to 80% mark. It's the only way to actually survive and do business over the long haul. So that is a vital question, and keep it in your hip pocket. The next question is, how much money do you spend on marketing a business? Unlike real estate, where the market is really mature and there are multiple platforms for selling a business, traditionally businesses don't have an MLS system. Again, Florida is an exception, but you need to ask a question about how much money is being spent to market. Transworld averages anywhere between $2,800 and $3,500 per listing in terms of total ad spend. We put it on about 20 for pay sites, and then amongst the agents there's about 180 personal sites that platform it and go out there on the marketplace. We're so large that other brokers take our listings and actively post them and sell them, which is kind of a function of that co-broker mentality. But you need to know how much money they're going to spend, and it has a direct correlation to success. If they don't have the money to spend on it, then frankly, they're probably not a successful brokerage firm. And if they're not willing to spend money on you, do you want to risk the likelihood of your sale and decrease the likelihood of success? Do you have a specialty? There are plenty of firms out there that tag themselves as specialists in businesses. I have several that I have kind of become really, really good at as a function of just the volume that I've done. But I would kind of pose to you that specialties are kind of a misnomer. The specialty of a business broker is their ability to get deals done, to negotiate, to understand the various variables that will come to play in the transaction, and what is acceptable norms and not acceptable norms. It is nice to have a specialty. It is nice to have done transactions in a category, but it is not a qualifier that you should use to throw somebody in or out of the mix. You don't have to be a mechanic or know how to turn a wrench, sell an automotive shop. The expertise should be in the process and action of selling a business, and that they're successful at doing it multiple times. How big is the firm? Is number 5. There's 2 types of firms you'll see out there. Well, 3. There'll be franchises, things like VR, Sunbelt, and a couple of the smaller ones, and even we have franchised. And then there are the company-owned divisions, and it's the larger firm. We're probably the extreme of that in Florida, with upwards of 100 brokers in the field working. And then there's the mom and pop, single agent, or 2 people in a firm, boutique type of firm. The economics of those models will drive the success in the deal volume, and again, it has a direct correlation to the likelihood of sale. A smaller firm who's a one-man band and wants to make $100,000 is probably going to do 10 to 12 transactions and can only handle 10 to 12 transactions because of that individual's bandwidth. You have to understand what goes on in the back office, the amount of time involved in marketing and doing analysis and preparing paperwork and updating listings to really get a feel for the time dedicated to a listing. Larger firms generally have support staff, accounting, legal, back office, that allow their sales agents to do what they do best, which is selling. And that's what this is. This is not a financial analysis business. This is a selling business. Number 6, can you show me comps for your business? Just like in houses, a broker has hardcore data that will back up the valuation that they come up with. Be very, very wary of a broker who walks in and asks you what the business should be sold for. Your opinion, although important, is not going to be based on fact and statistics. If the broker is active in the marketplace, particularly if they're a broker in Florida, they have access to a multiple listing service, which will give you comps right down to the county level for like-sized businesses. You can reference some of the other valuation videos for how the value is done, because comps are not apples to apples always. But we should be able to give you, sold data and sold statistics and sold multiples, so that you know where you stand. Frankly, the BBF has some really nice systems where we can take an active listing and graphically analyze it against sold statistics and current listings, so you can see where you sit in the marketplace. So if your broker's not giving you that data and not sharing it with you, either they don't want to or they don't know how to, and either of those should be a discriminator when you're making your decision. Will I have to hold paper or do seller financing is a statistical fact. Of the 90% of the businesses that sold last year had owner financing, and if they didn't, they were very, very small transactions. Banks don't lend money. They didn't lend money before the recession. And if your books and records aren't perfectly clean, with cascading revenues going up and profits going up, you're not going to get any type of bank financing. And even if you do, they're probably going to require you to hold some paper as well anyway. So keep in mind, this is a real number. Less than 1% of the transactions done last year in 2012 were bank financed. In almost every case, there's 20 to 30% of the purchase price held by a seller for 3 to 5 years at prime plus 2. We can go on and on about seller financing, but if you don't offer seller financing, you're going to see a 40% decrease in the number of hits you get on the internet. That's just a statistical fact based upon what we see in the MLS system and on our website hits. Number 8, how long does it take to sell a business? Here's the industry standard. It takes about 12 months to sell a business. The reason it takes about 12 months to sell a business is frankly, the businesses are generally overpriced, and that goes to education of the buyers, education of the brokers, and having a realistic position. When you overprice the business, it frankly gets cooked and worked down until eventually you fall into what we call the box, and then it gets sold. So, the average is 12. We tend to average 4 to 6. There are seasons here, which in Florida, in which people will be making trips over here from Europe or South America, depending upon the tourist season, where we see spikes. There are months when things don't really happen, primarily November, December, because of the holidays. So, you will see ebbs and flows. The selling cycle is about a 10-month cycle in terms of real time that you have available to get transactions done. But, if you don't sell your business, it's often a function of it being overpriced or not properly marketed. And those are decisions you have to take into effect. What websites are you on, and how do you market my business? Ask that direct question and have them show you their access to BizBuySell, BrokerWorks, Merger Network, Global BX, Florida Businesses for Sale, the Transworld sites. Find out how many sites they're actually on, and do your own research to see how much it costs to do those things. If they're not willing to be on more than 3 websites, you're hurting yourself in the long run. And then finally, and this is by design, what is your commission? And note this is the last question, because it's the least important. Business brokers should not be taking fees up front. They should be success-based. If they're not success-based, then they're probably not very good at what they do, and you shouldn't be paying $5, $10, $15, $20, $30,000 for a evaluation. Cheaper doesn't get you anywhere, and if you're in a place where there's active co-brokering, the more you discount the commission, the more you hurt yourself in light of other brokers looking at the transaction to get it sold. So, you're going to be in the marketplace between 10 on the low end and 15 on the high end, and that's real numbers. Again, it sounds steep when compared to real estate, but the success factors, the competency, the number of deals, and the complexity more than warrants it. So with that, we'll post this, and feel free to check out my website at www.businessesforsaleorlando.com.